Hello everyone, today we are going to continue the conversation about quadratic equation. We are going to introduce another way to solve quadratic equation. Before we start the topic, let's have a quick review regarding some key terms we mentioned before. So first is zero product property. As I mentioned before, this is a reason why we can use factor to solve quadratic equation. The most important part about this, because when we multiply two parts equal to 0, then one of them might be 0. So that's a key step, can help us to solve quadratic equation by factoring. It is very different from the way we mentioned before. Okay, so that's one thing. Sometimes when we solve this kind of equation, students still easily to link to the linear equation, but the way we solve it are very different. And just as a quick review, as we mentioned, sometimes we tend to try AM method to see if it works. So the way we do that is we find two numbers to multiply to get 5. That's why we indicate M here, stands for multiplication. And we use the same number to add to negative 6, which is A stands for addition. So as we mentioned last time, only two numbers, which is -1, -5, are the one working. So this is how do we solve it. We break down as two parts by using these two numbers. So this is how these two equations are equivalent. Then either one can be 0. So that's how we get all the solution. So we call this as a factor. So let's check this equation. So this equation, again, as we mentioned, we tend to try if AM method works or not. So let's try. So we are going to choose two numbers to multiply to get -3. And then we are going to use the same numbers to add to get -4. So some students might want to try -1, -3, because -1 and -3 can add to -4. However, when you multiply them, it's not going to work to get -3. So if you try a little bit more, you will realize no matter how hard you try, you cannot find the two numbers to make it happen. So that indicates factor is not going to work on this kind of equation. Then our question will be, so it seems that factoring is not going to work for all kinds of equations. Then is there any other way we can always use without testing? So this actually, there is, and this method called quadratic formula. I believe this is not strange to all of you, probably already heard it before. So let's quickly check this quadratic formula here. Quadratic formula here is, as you can see, we actually indicate three numbers, A, B, C. So it's actually coming from when we have equation like this way, then the numbers in front of x squared is A, the number coefficient of x, which is B, and the constant term, which is C, equal to 0, then x must be this value. So 2a, so denominator is 2a, then the top part is opposite b. The reason I read this as opposite b because whatever the number b here, this must be opposite. Plus or minus, meaning one of the solution is plus, the other one solution is minus square root of b squared minus 4ac. So this method is called quadratic formula. So let's see how do we use it. Let's go back to see the equation we had before. So first, as we mentioned, this is indicate ax squared plus bx plus c, so equal to 0. So in this case, a is invisible 1, you're right. B is -4. Do not forget the sign of the number. C is -3. So now I just need to put in this formula. Again, as I mentioned, we read this as opposite b, which is the opposite of -4, which is 4. Plus or minus b squared, I strongly suggest you do not forget to put a parenthesis if you deal with negative numbers. So it's -4 get squared minus 4 times 1, which is a, times -3, 4ac, divided by 2a, 2 times 1. So now we are going to do a little bit calculation here. I would suggest you do it along with me together. Try not to use calculator as way to practice your math to math. 2 times 1 is 2, 4 plus or minus. So let's do this. -4 squared, which is -4 times -4, 16. Minus 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times -3 is -12. We can continue here. So we still continue like this, 4 plus or minus. So it becomes 16 minus minus, which will become plus. 16 plus 12, which is 28. So some students might wonder, are we finished? So is that technically we are? This is actually our solution. So one of the solution is 4 plus square root 28. The other one is 4 minus plus 28 divided by 2. However, we do prefer to simplify square root 28, which is called simplify the radical. How do we do that? I will break down 28 to one is perfect square number and the other one is regular. So basically I find is there a perfect square number is a factor of 28. So you might think about can I break down 28 as you can see, for 4 times 7. So 4 is a perfect number. So I'm going to put like this way. And then it will become this. So the final answer is going to be 2 radical 7. So now I'm going to rewrite radical 28 to 227. So it's 4 plus or minus 2 divided by 2. Then, since the whole number divided by 2, so it is 4 divided by 2 is 2. Then 2 radical 7 divided by 2 is radical 7. So one of solution is 2 plus radical 7. The reason I put a sub 1 here is the first solution, or the second solution is 2 minus radical 7. One thing I want to remind you is you don't need to break down as I did here. We just prefer, I just tell you exactly how these two solutions are separated here. So these are the two solutions. This is how do we use quadratic formula to solve it. The key idea is we find out what is the value of A, B, and C. So one more example, we are going to finish here. I just want to give you an example to let you know exactly how do I find A, B, C. So for these two equations here, I strongly suggest you to solve it on your own and then try to compare the solution with me. So I'm going to show the solution of these two equations in the next video. But again, I strongly suggest you to solve these two equations first and then compare your solution with my answer, okay? So see you soon in the next video with a solution for these two equations.